All right, so next up, I am so excited to announce, I talked to Ra Koh last year, and schedules didn't work, and I've been keeping in touch with her over this last year, and we are so excited to have her here. Those of you who heard her in the photography workshop the other day, I know I've been looking forward to hearing from her again. I'm just going to read these 8 quick bullet points about her, because if I am bad on the fly, I might start rapping again. So I'm going to hit her list, because she's done some pretty amazing things. So Mira loves cameras, kids, and empowering women. She spends her life bringing them together. She started with photographing her own kids, then weddings, and then in 4 years went from charging $700 a wedding to $30,000 a wedding. So you can do the same, is her big message. Regular photo expert and contributor for the Nate Berkus Show on NBC. Photo recipes and work featured on the Oprah Winfrey Show, Lifetime Television, and VH1. She's sponsored by SONY Artisans of Imagery, which is really cool because for a lot of the photography companies, they're really making strides to women. They're really reaching out, so that's very cool. She leads confidence workshops for women that have sold out nationwide for the last 4 years about empowering women to take their creative passion and fly. Her daily blog is mirakoh.com. Spelling, I move the H around all the time, so I'm just going to read this off if you all want to visit. It's merakoh.com. And then she puts on an annual SOAR scholarship program for aspiring women photographers, helping 3 women take their photography dreams and soar. So Sony gives them camera gear, Adobe gives software, business coaching, mentoring, and more, and all EVO women are invited to apply in November. So again, we're so excited to have her. I hope she can work in our pile of papers up here. But come on up, and let's give her a round of applause.
There are so many papers up here. Is it okay if I just kind of move them off to the side? I might all of a sudden in the middle of my talk make an announcement about something. Okay, I'm just going to give them all to you there. Okay. It's like a scrapbook page right here for EVO. Thank you so much for coming to this closing keynote. I feel so incredibly honored to help close the most amazing 3 days out with you. Can you give a hand for EVO? This has been the most incredible conference. I want to thank all of you, because I've been kind of watching you from a distance, kind of spying on some of your conversations, and I just can't believe how much genuine heart is in this conference. I mean, not ego, but just authentic, genuine heart. And so it's really an honor to be here. And I want to thank the men that are here and just acknowledge you guys for caring about what's going on with women in social media. I think that's amazing. And I want to thank the people that are tuning in live right now. I know a lot of my photography friends are tuning in, and oh, my mom and dad. So I want to talk about living a life of adventure, because the theme of this conference is adventure. And how many of you did the Alpine coaster last night? That was an amazing adventure. I seriously thought that when I got up off of that ride with Blaze, that you were going to see pee like all through here, because I have not screamed that much in my life. And so I just, that is a great analogy to everything we're probably going to talk about tonight. But I want to start first, though, with my name. And so I know that my name is really weird, and it's sometimes hard to figure out. And so on my website, I even have the phonetic way to say it. But here's the deal. The only person that can actually say my name right is not even me. It's my Korean dad. So you can say whatever you want to me. You can call me whatever you want. It's Ra Koh, but I will pretty much answer to anything, because only my dad says it like the way he, Mira, the way he does it. So I want to start with telling you a little bit about myself and where I come from, because this life that I've been given, this gift, has been an amazing journey of up and down and up and down. And that's the hope that I want to bring to some of you tonight. And so my story starts when I was 19. And what I'm going to do right now, just so you know, so you don't feel like you have to leave, is I'm going to take you deep sea diving, okay? But here's the thing. I promise you we will come up for air. We will not deep sea dive the whole thing. But I want you to know where I'm coming from and how I have become the person I am and living this adventurous life that we've been given. I started by walking onto a Christian college campus when I was 19. And it was the first week of freshman orientation. I met a guy in line who was an older student, and I did not know at the time that he was posing to be enrolled. He actually wasn't enrolled. And he and I just hit it off. He just thought that I was the best thing since sliced bread, and it was my first time away from home, and so I just took it all in. And within a couple months, we were dating, and this was like kind of my first official boyfriend. And he loved everything about me and was always happy for me. And then somewhere along the road, things shifted. And it was just like subtle things at first. You know, like, oh, I don't think you should wear that to dinner tonight. Why don't you go and change? I'll meet you and you go and change. Or, you know, those friends that you hang out with, I don't really think that they're a good thing for you, so you should hang out more with me and less with those people. And because I came from a broken childhood and had gone through different abuse situations, I just took it in as all honesty that he was giving me, that he was trying to help me. And I stopped listening to my voice more and more. And almost 20 years ago on Valentine's Day, it ended up being a date rape situation. And so I know that some kids are in this room right now, and I just want to say for those of you who have not heard that term, it's basically when someone touches you and you ask them not to, but they don't listen. And that situation turned my whole life upside down. And so I decided to go to court and press charges, and I had a woman judge sit up in front of me and say, well, why did you get into this situation to begin with? And I was denied a restraining order, and he was let back onto campus, and I became very intimately and fully aware of what it means to live under fear and doubt all the time. And he followed me everywhere for 9 months. It was ongoing. I'd go for a run, and he'd be sitting in his car, in a parked car, already there before I got there. I'd go to a restaurant, and he'd already be there waiting. My phone would ring at all times of the night. I started feeling like I was losing my mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just felt like I could not see up from down. And so eventually, I started just kind of giving up on life and wondering if all these lies I was hearing in my head, that I was a mistake, I didn't have value, I didn't have a voice, and what I did say was never heard anyways. Maybe all of those things were true. And I remember walking into this chapel service. We had to go to chapel so many times a quarter, otherwise you were kicked out. And for some reason, I was really concerned about that. So you can see how my perspective was a little bit off. But this one day, I walked into this chapel service, and this guy comes up to the stage, and he's from out of state, and he says, I'm here because I feel like I have this message that I want to share and inspire the students, and he had his whole thing prepared, and he just started into it, and he started talking about what he wanted to say to us and the message he wanted to give to college students, and all of a sudden he stopped. And he was so quiet, and he couldn't get his thoughts together. And he put all his papers to the side, and he looked out in the audience, and he goes, I never do this, and I feel really silly doing this, but I just have this feeling inside of me that someone here is giving up on life. And he said, I don't know who you are, and I don't even know if you're here, but I just need you to know that you cannot give up. You are worth whatever it takes to get better. You are worth taking the time to get better, because when you are whole and when you find healing, the world is going to be needing it and desperate for it. And wherever you are, you cannot give up. And I knew he was talking to me. I knew he was. And I remember walking out of that chapel, and the guy was there with his friends, and they all laughed at me. I just have that vivid memory in my head. And I ran to a phone, and I called my mom, and I said, Mom, I'm not making it. Like, I can't keep going like this. And 2 days later, my stuff was packed, and I was on a plane flying from Seattle to California. And I got to this place in California, and I'm standing outside of these double doors, and there's a sign that says psychiatric unit to the side. And I'm thinking to myself, why am I standing here? Why am I checking myself in when everybody that I know that's hurt me should probably be in here much more than I need to, right? And I just remember feeling so confused by that, but knowing I had no other direction to go but forward. And I walked through those double doors, and I will never forget the sound of hearing them close behind me and the relief I felt, because not only was I locked in, but nobody could get in. And it was finally time for me to heal. And so I spent several weeks there, and we did several exercises every day. And one of the exercises that is burned in my head is we had to make a list of everything that we felt responsible for in life. Everything that we just felt like was our responsibility, we had to write it down. So I said, I can totally do that. There's a lot of things I feel responsible for. So I started making my list. Can you believe I had 150 things on my list? It was insane. And then the therapist said, okay, the next step is he held up these little Ziploc bags, and he said, I want you guys to fill a bag of sand for every single thing you feel responsible for. And I was like, what did he just say? Why didn't you tell us that before we did this exercise? And so I sat there for hours filling these bags of sand and then he said, okay, now I want you to take all your little bags of sand and you're going to put it in this army burlap bag. And you get to carry that around for 24 hours because you need to physically get in touch with how much you carry that you can't do anything about. How much you carry in life that you can't fix, that you're out of control of, you have to physically get in touch with that. And can I tell you, by the end of that 24 hours, I was taking those bags and throwing them against the wall because I was so mad that I bought into all of this and I was doing this. And that clinic changed my life, and it started to repiece and rebuild my life back together. And over the next several years, I started working on a book, and I met my awesome husband, Brian, who is, stand up really quick, babe. I met Brian, and I started working on a book, and my first book that I ever did was called Beauty Restored. And it came out the same day Pascaline was born. You want to stand out really quick, Pascaline? It came out the same day Pascaline was born. It took 10 years to write this book and go through this process. Her birthday is also the first day of spring. I mean, it was just such a new season in life, right? I just felt so ready for this. And when she was 3 months old, we hit the road and we started a 2-year book tour. And we went and talked to colleges and campuses and churches, whoever would take me, so I could help bring awareness to sexual victimization and hope and healing and all of that. And it was at the end of that 2 years, I was pregnant with Aiden, our second, and I was pregnant with Aiden, and I remember I was doing a conference for women in Tennessee, and I just felt like something wasn't right. And so I came home, and I told Brian, and we got me into the doctor, and the doctor said, Aiden's heartbeat stopped. And we're gonna have to take him because he just didn't make it. And I don't know how many of you relate, but you know when you get to those points in life where you're just like, enough is enough. And I've tried so hard to make good out of everything, but this is too much. And I went in, for the next 2 years, I went into just a real grieving place of just feeling sad and just not wanting to feel anything else, because I thought if I lost the sadness, that was all that I had of Aiden anyways. And during that 2 years of kind of laying on the couch, not speaking anymore, not writing anymore, I saw Pascaline one day. She was 2, and she was playing on the carpet next to the couch. And the afternoon sunlight came through the window, and it just illuminated her. And I just thought, oh my gosh, like I can't hold on to everything, but I can capture this. And I went and bought my first camera. And that was 8 years ago. I went and I bought my first camera, and I said, I am going to start capturing what is in front of me. And it started with things as simple as Pascaline playing with a yellow balloon for the first time, and the joy in her face. It was her playing with a garden hose while we were gardening. And eventually friends saw those pictures and they said, well, will you take pictures of our kids? And then eventually someone said, would you do a wedding? And then Brian stopped carrying my bags and started shooting and becomes this award-winning photographer himself. And then we're like, this is really fun. And it felt so good to not tell my story for a while and tell your story and capture the beauty of your story and what you were living with your children and in your life. And then from there, we moved to shooting weddings and having this incredible opportunity to shoot the most beautiful, wonderful clients. Whether their wedding, they paid us $700 or $30,000, it didn't matter. All of their stories were beautiful. And through this process, I'm sorry, I just went the wrong way. Through this process, I had this nudge inside of me that photography was more to me, though. It wasn't about just capturing weddings. It was about empowering women, especially moms with cameras, and giving them a sense that they could capture their own kids, too. And so my passion is to help women know their impossible dream and to know that they're worthy of that impossible dream. Because I've had to believe and dream in the impossible just to get myself out of a psych ward. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's an adventure. And doing that is embarking on an adventure. And when I looked up adventure in the dictionary, it said words like hazardous, dangerous, right? And I'm like, ooh, that's not what I plan to find. But I thought, that's really powerful, because I think that every time an adventure approaches us, we have fear and doubt right next to us, telling us, oh, I don't know. Do you really want to do that? What's that going to risk? Are you going to be comfortable with that? Is it going to be worth your time? Do you know what I'm saying? How many of you hear those voices every time this opportunity arises for you? But there was this other definition that I found that I really liked, and it's the exploration of unknown territory. And I'm like, that is totally, I resonate with that, because I think that when we push through those fear and doubts and we actually embark into exploring unknown territory, the reward is in that exploration. The reward of things that we could never imagine is waiting for us, but we're in the dark, right? We're in unknown territory. So this is the thing. As an artist and as a creative professional, which everyone in this room is, whether you're a blogger, whether you're part of the marketing team for a company, whether you do videos, everyone in this room is a creative professional. And knowing that, we have to be okay and actually embrace the reality that creation starts in the unknown. It starts in the dark. How many of you feel comfortable in the dark? Not many of us do, right? I think that, there we go, creation starts in the unknown. I love to be in my garden, because if you look at a garden and how a garden works, you plant the seeds in the ground, right? And then you cover it with dirt. You plant your bulbs, and then you cover it with dirt. And then for months, you see no evidence of life at all, right? And if we were to go up and dig up our bulbs to see if anything's really growing in there, would we completely destroy the little life that had just gotten started? I mean, creation starts in the dark. It starts in the unknown. And I want to encourage all of you to spend some time actually getting yourself in unknown places for yourself, actually allowing yourself to spend a little time in the dark, and knowing that as an artist, as a creative professional, you need that. It's a necessity for you to keep coming up with creative content that's inspiring the world around you. Is this making sense? Is this resonating? Okay. I think as women, especially for those of us that have had babies and actually carried babies in our womb, we know that even though we have no idea how this baby makes itself inside of us, our bodies kick in and they create in the dark. So I love encouraging women photographers when I'm at photography conferences, because I'll tell them, you need to shoot like a woman. You need to put away your shot list and come and create as you're shooting, because you innately are already comfortable with creating in the unknown. You already know you're made in a fashion to create in the dark. And how much spontaneity, how much life is going to come from that in letting ourselves be okay to do that. So I had a friend talk to me, and her and her husband are both artists. And she said to me a few months ago, she said, we want to really figure out how to make this life work for us. We want to live our dream of like doing our art and not providing for us and it being enough. And so when I asked her, well, what does that look like? What is that hammered out? What do you picture? She looked at me with like a blank face and she said, well, I have no idea, really. I just know that we want our art to be able to pay our mortgage, to be able to pay our food. And I thought, wow, this is how many people find themselves in this place. And what I want to ask you is, what is your audacious goal? What is your impossible dream? Because we all are on different adventures in life, and all our adventures look different, but we all start in the same place with having to ask that single question of, what does it look like where I want to go? And hammered out. I may not get there, but if we don't even know what it looks like where we want to go, and it has to be more than paying the mortgage and the bills, right? Because those are actually needs. Those are like, we need food, we need shelter, and somehow it's amazing, even in tight months, how all those things get provided for. We're all still sitting here. None of us have died from starvation, right? But at the same time, we have huge desires, and we need to know like what our desires are hammered out. And sometimes it starts with small things, and then slowly it gets to bigger things. For Brian and I, it started with this desire, this audacious goal to live abroad, just to live abroad with the kids once a year. That was our desire. Like, what would that look like if we saved enough money to be able to do that? I had no idea where we would go in the world, but I just knew we needed to start with something bigger outside of us. And so we started saving, and we started building this dream out and asking each other, what do you see it? How do you picture it? And we decided to go to Thailand, of all places, and live in the jungle, okay? Live in the jungle. And I am not an REI girl. I like my rings, right? I like comfort, but we just thought, our family needs this. Like, what would happen if we did this? And for 6 weeks, we totally went somewhere so remote, and we just like lived in the jungle with the monkeys and figured it out. And so we ended up doing it. We got backpacks, and we packed our camera gear, packed our homeschool stuff for the kids, and we set out to live in this house in the jungle on stilts and try this out and see what would happen, having no idea what to expect. And just the quietness of being together. No roads, no cars. You can't get to this place by car. You have to take a boat. 3 planes, a 45-minute little rickety long-tail boat ride where the thing's like da-da-da-da-da-da for 45, and you're just entering the place of the unknown. And we just we embraced it, though. We learned how to ride elephants. We had these guys looking out after us all the time. I thought that we were watching them, and then we realized that they were actually watching us, because we were actually the exhibit at the zoo to them. And the bathroom to the houses are outside, and so you're showering outside, and you can only see the tree canopy above you. And I am not kidding you. These stinkers, one morning I'm taking a shower, there's 5 of them in a row with their backs turned to me, like this. And one by one, they turn around and they go, and turn back around. And I'm like, get out of here. Get out of here. Give me some privacy. But that's what they did. And then there was another kind of monkey species called the macaque, right? That's macaques. And they got into our food all the time. So every time we left, there are no locks on this house. They would slip their hand underneath and flip up the bar, and they would ransack our kitchen. And we would come home, and there would be banana peels all over the floor. There would be rice scattered everywhere. And that whole thing about monkeys jumping on the bed is no joke. They would get into chocolate, and all over the bed are these like monkey paw prints, and you can just see that where they've been jumping. So the locals decided that they would have some fun with us, and they said that the way you need to get rid of the monkeys is to act like a bigger monkey. So Brian, you know, is totally acting like a big, and it's not working because that's not what you do. And they're all laughing, you know, in the distance. What you have to do is you have to learn how to use a slingshot. And so we learned how to use slingshots, and we took the time together as a family to collect rocks and do slingshot practice. And I had such a blast with it because people would ask me before we left for this trip, oh, what mission are you going on to Thailand? And I'd be like, a mission for our family? Like, you know, because I felt so bad. Like, we were just going for us because we needed that. And we had and I felt so guilty about that. Do you know what I'm saying? It's so hard, especially as women, to give to ourselves. But I needed it more than I ever realized. And that in the trees in the jungle is where I started working on the format, the outline for the book that all of you got, thanks to my publisher, Amphoto. Isn't that great that they gave that to us tonight? Blaze and I would we'd sit, and I'd work on the book, and he'd come and sit on my lap, and together we found this like way of existence together. And we had to figure out how to coexist with the monkeys, because you can't call pest control, right? And every single afternoon they ransacked our kitchen. It was so unnerving that I would just be like, I can't stand it here. I cannot live here. I cannot live like this. And then the locals were like, well, you actually need to learn to coexist because you have to share the space. You can't just come in and like move them out. And it was so challenging on so many levels and so life-giving. And I got to tell you that when you're on an adventure, you come up with the best tweets. You can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. We were scuba diving, Brian and I, and sharks started circling us. And then we come to find out we get home and our whole place is trashed again. And I'm like, you can't make this stuff up. So this was our adventure. This was our audacious goal. And the second year, we ended up finding a way to go back, because if there's anything we learned from the first year, we learned that we had to go back. We had to do this again for ourselves and for our business and for our creativity. And so we went, and we first went to Cambodia, and we did a photography workshop for an orphanage there. And these are kids that are in their teens and their 20s, and they've all been saved from the sex slave industry, and they're just amazing, beautiful beings. And so we did a photography workshop. We put cameras in their hands, and they gave more to us than they will ever know. And just watching the joy in their face as they captured their life around them. And then from there, we went to Angkor Wat, which is in Cambodia as well, where all those ruins are. If you saw Tomb Raider with Angelina Jolie, you saw like parts of Angkor Wat. And so we went and photographed that. And this is a picture Brian shot of me trying to get this huge root that's growing over this like old temple that's been there for thousands of years. And everything was going so great. All the things about adventure being a danger, a hazard, all of that, like none of that was there. It was so great. And then we got to our house in Thailand. And Pascaline and Blaze and I started throwing up. And we thought, maybe we just got something, weird in our system, or we ate something or drank something weird. And in the morning, she was still feeling good enough, Pascaline, and so she would get up, and the gibbon apes are the roosters, kind of, in Thailand. They play that role. So instead of hearing the rooster go cock-a-doodle-doo, you hear an ape start singing super, super loud, and it wakes up the whole jungle at sunrise, and everybody in the jungle, everything in creation responds to these gibbon apes. And so Pascaline would get up at like 5:30 in the morning and sing back to them and mimic their call, and by the second, third day, they were mimicking her call, and it was the sweetest thing to watch this connection. And then all of a sudden, like day 4, day 5, Pascaline and I go down with a fever that spikes to 104. And it goes on for 1 week, and then 2 weeks. And it's 105, and there's no air conditioning. And Brian is like up with us all night long. He's putting towels on us to try to break the temperature, to try to break the fever that we have. And we didn't know until like a few more days into it that what we had actually got was dengue fever. And that there was some mosquito that had it, that was carrying it in Cambodia, and it stayed incubated so that by the time we got to Thailand, it was breaking. And if you've ever heard anything about dengue fever, it's called a bone breaker because it feels like it's breaking all of your bones. I've never been through anything so painful in my life, and Pascaline was about 3 days behind me in her cycle of this fever. And so I would be going through it, and I would be fully aware that my daughter's right behind me in this. And we're so remote. And what kind of parent am I to bring my kids out to a remote place? Like, what was I thinking? There's no doctor anywhere. My brother's trying to figure out how to helicopter us out, but we're too weak to make that trip. And I hear Pascaline wake up one morning and she's screaming, and Brian and I go to her, and we have to hold her arms and legs down because she thinks that her nose is breaking off her face. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm getting to the climax of all I can take, and I feel like this is unbelievable. What were we doing to come here and do this? And all of a sudden, our Thai housewife runs in, and she starts opening all the shutters in our house, and she's crying, and she goes, listen, listen, listen. And the given apes who stay up in the rooftop of the canopy, who never come down to the house, have surrounded our house and are singing to Pascaline. And Pascaline, who can't hear a word Brian and I are saying because her nose is crushing, she feels like her face is crushing, and I'm thinking she's never going to want to take another risk, she's never going to want to go on another adventure, looks up at me and says, Mom, the apes know. They know they're here for me. And the jungle just embraced her in that moment. And we came home from that, and it took a good 6 months to rebuild our platelet, our white blood cell count, all of that. And a few months later, after that 6 months, Brian goes, I think we need to go back. I'm like, are you kidding me? Did you not see what happened there? No, we are not going back. And I just thought, this is insane. We cannot do this. And I asked Pascaline if I could tell you this with permission, and she gave me permission. But I actually went to Pascaline because Brian felt like our family needed to go back. He felt it in his gut that there was something there we needed to do. And so I asked Pascaline, I said, how do you feel about that? Because we're not going if you're not comfortable with it. And just so you know, I don't want to go. So you don't have to feel any pressure. And she looks at me, my 10-year-old, and says, we can't live in fear though, Mom. Does that mean we never go to a jungle again? Does that mean we never do another adventure? We can't live in fear though now for the rest of our lives. And so I'm just like, crud. She's been listening to my talks. She's taking it for real. And so we get on a plane, and I cry on the plane because I'm like, I cannot believe we are going back and we are doing this. But you know what is so amazing? We get back there, and we get on that beach, and you step into the unknown. You explore the unknown territory with fear and doubt by your side, and life raises up to meet you. And for us, it was Shui the turtle. We got to the beach the first day, and here comes this turtle that I've never seen in all our times there, and he is there to meet us. And Pascaline finds confidence in being in the surrounding again. She finds that reassurance that she can do this, don't have to live in fear. She probably already had it before we went. And then the second morning we're there, something happens that never happens. One of the given apes comes down, and he comes down so low to the house, and for hours, like it's literally like trying to capture these guys. It's like, quick, grab the camera, and oh, he's gone. you know. Oh, quick, I hear him singing, grab the camera. Oh, man. This given ape comes down, and he literally sits in the tree for hours. And I feel like he was watching over us. And the Thai housewife, she's like, I think he knows you're back. I think he's here. He's welcoming you back. We called him our white ghost because he sat there. He came back every day for like 3 or 4 days, and then we never saw him again. So, just to give you a chance to really experience this opportunity, we're going to do the Give an Ape call together. What do you think about that? So you might want to turn down the mic. But this is how it goes, okay? Look at this. I even did this at the last minute. There you go, okay? So you know how it goes. And then literally, Pascaline, do you want to get up here and help me? Yes. Come on. You don't have to. I just wanted to give you the chance. Oh, yeah, she wants to come up. Come here. Okay, so here we go. This is how a given ape calls in the morning. It wakes up the whole jungle. Okay. One long whoop, 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 whoop. And it's really great because depending on how many whoop, whoop, whoops they do is what family they're a part of. Okay, so Pascaline, let's lead them all. You ready? You ready to get your given ape call going? Okay, here we go. Whoop, 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 whoop. Yay! Good job, buddy. Good job. So doesn't that just feel good? Let's just do it one more time. I just love the sound of it. Whoop, 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 whoop. So big, you can totally sit down unless you want to stay up here with me. So these big adventures, I think, start with small adventures. They start with daily practices. They start with things that are simple. And for me, those things look like, man, every morning I wake up, I don't know about you, but I feel like there's already a conversation going on around my head about what I can and cannot do in this life. So every morning I wake up, I have to set my mind to just be the first word I say, no! No! And I get my golden retriever and I go for a walk and I start walking until those voices finally stop. I do morning pages as a daily practice to just get out of my head, get out of myself. 3 pages of just freehand writing. Yoga. You know, taking that time to listen. I think these daily practices are the things that nurture us being able to take the bigger adventures, right? I do a small adventure where I'll have Brian help me with a self-portrait of myself. And I do this, for those of you who do photography, I'm always getting asked, how do I help people relax more in front of the camera? My best advice to you is to get in front of the camera. To remember what it's like and how much direction you need and how uncomfortable you feel. And that is the best thing you can do to get better at helping people relax. And so Brian and I did this self-portrait together, and I said, I want you to help me take a picture of me really loving myself. Really just being at ease with myself. What does that look like? And a friend in San Francisco helped us with that, and it was just such a fun, collaborative, creative process. But it was a huge adventure for me inside because I felt so uncomfortable in front of the camera. Sometimes with my camera, I intentionally shoot things that are blurry because there's so much focus put on how sharp things need to be, how focused things need to be. But what about the magic and the wonder that blurry photos give too? And so I'll kind of try to force myself out of that place. As a family, we sometimes practice just sitting together, and we take turns, like one person at a time. And we started with 30 seconds. We set a timer. And now we've worked our way up to 2 minutes. And we just spend 2 minutes being quiet, just listening for that person. What do we feel like life's wanting to tell them? What do we feel like God's wanting to say to them? And just listening for that person. Trying to get my kids into a place of practicing quieting themselves, because listening to our creative spirit is so important. And what's the one voice you can always trust in this life? Does anyone know what the one voice is? Your wife's? Exactly. Good job. What's the one other voice you can always trust? Your creative voice. Your creative voice always has your best interest at heart. It is always looking out for you. It's a voice that says to you, you know what? It's the middle of the day. Why don't you go for a 15-minute walk? Your creative voice never makes sense, but it is always looking out for you. So I want to do this exercise together right now, okay? I want to do this. It's kind of like a guided visualization, and I'm going to tell you what's coming so you know, okay? I'm going to invite you to, if you're comfortable, close your eyes or just kind of look down in front of you so your eyes are relaxed. And I'm going to invite you to dream up 3 actions, okay, that you could take when you get home to forward or open the way to for you to live an even more creative and adventurous life. What are 3 actions? And then I'm going to ask you to kind of put it in your memory bank. We've had such an amazing conference. So maybe this is something that you've heard at a workshop. Maybe this is something that someone has said to you over dinner that inspired you, or Twitter that you saw. We're just going to take this second. And so there are no wrong answers, and I just want you to simply take what you get. Okay? So you ready? Okay. I would invite you to just close your eyes or just look down in front of you and just sink into the quiet of your own reverie. And ask yourself the question, what is one action that I can take to open myself to an even more creative and adventurous life? Now place that answer in your memory, and please ask yourself again, what is another action that I can take to open myself to an even more creative and adventurous life? And place that answer in your memory bank. And one last time, ask yourself, what is one more action that I can take to open myself to an even more creative and adventurous life? And place that into your memory. And take a moment to appreciate whatever you got. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to open your eyes and come back to this room and this place, this time. And so when you're ready, you can open your eyes, come back. Okay, I just want to take a minute and give a few people an opportunity, no pressure, to share what one of their things was that they got. Does anybody want to do that? Yeah. Stop being so hard on myself. Amen, sister. I'm going to give you something. You can come get this after the talk, okay? What's another action someone got? Oh, now there's a lot of hands. Is it because there's a free gift? She should get 2 for be the first. Go ahead. Accept criticism. Accept criticism. Awesome. Yeah, actually, if you don't mind. What about you? Collaborate. Awesome. Pascaline. Accept your mistakes. Awesome. Over here. What did you say? Awesome. Take more chances. Yeah. Jason. Write more. You want a onesie, Jason? Somebody else. I love that. Share wisdom of things she's learned with other people to help them grow on their path. I love that. I'm going to let this up for you. What about this side of the room? Like way back there. Yes. She said, when I tell someone I want to do something and they say it's crazy, do it even faster. That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, 2 more. Lisa. Make it a priority. Awesome. And you. Oh, yes. Amen. Forgive my parenting mistakes. Awesome. will you just take a moment to write down your 3 things so that when you leave here, it's with you, you can take it with you? Yeah, they're all up right there. Brian, right there. Awesome. Did everyone get theirs written down? Awesome. So, living life to the fullest, filled with creative adventure, I think is all about simple daily practices that are small risks that build into large risks, small courage that's enough for us in one day that builds into large courage that's enough to lift others up as well. But it all starts with being willing to step forward with fear and doubt. Fear and doubt are always there. You heard me say it in my description. You read it. I asked you the question, if you knew fear and doubt were going to be with you for the rest of your days, what would you do? What would you get on with? What impossible would you go after? And I always thought that I would get to this place where I would arrive, quote unquote, right? I thought that if I just worked through my stuff enough and I just went to enough counseling and I just was intentional enough and practiced enough that fear and doubt would finally at some point go, hey, you know what? She's kind of lame to hang out with. Let's go find someone else. But they don't. They're with me all the time. And I think it's because it's part of the creative process. I think that as long as you choose to continue to explore the unknown for yourself, fear and doubt always have a voice. They always have a place to be there. And so I brought this journal to share with you, this journal entry, because this is an example that I thought, this is an example that just shows how fear and doubt are with me, even this last year with some of the great things that happened. This last year, I got to be the photo expert for the Nate Berkus Show, and that was so exciting, but I was terrified, and I brought you the journal that I wrote right after it happened, okay? So you can see the reality of what this looked like, because people emailed, and they were like, you were so confident, you're so great on TV, and I'm like, oh, honey, if you only knew what was going on. So this is called Walking Through the Curtain, and this was a journal I wrote right after we taped our first show together. There are single moments in life when we find ourselves standing at the threshold. Across the way is what we have been preparing for since our first breath. And yet we have never come face to face with this place, this dream, with such intensity. The adrenaline races through our veins, and in that single moment before it's time to stand up to give it our best shot, we are flooded with doubt. We doubt every dream we've ever had, every wish we've ever made at every birthday. Were we silly to dream this big, selfish to want this much? Or did God in heaven really believe we were worthy of tasting the promised land? The fear coincides with all the doubt and rushes through our veins, pooling acid in our bellies. And maybe the fear is there because of that slight possibility that this turning moment will prove our dreams are wrong, not meant for us, simply out of our reach. Or maybe not. I'm standing behind a curtain on set at the Nate Berkus Show for the first time. One of the sound guys is checking my microphone, and he thinks we need to get rid of my necklace. I smile and say to him, think of my necklace as a tie. Would you really take away the main color in a man's suit? He shrugs, half smiles, and keeps fidgeting with my necklace pendant, finally deciding to tape it down because somehow I have won him over. I really needed to win him over. I needed that extra bit of confidence that I could win the audience on the other side of the curtain. I hear the audience go into roaring applause. A simple veil separates us. I picture Nate Berkus smiling, waving, thanking them, and I feel the countdown in my belly begin. The applause will have to stop at some point, and that will be his signal to introduce me. I look over at Brian. He is standing under the exit sign, and tears burn in my eyes when I see him because the very place he is standing gives me freedom. I know that if I went to him now and asked him if we could run from this opportunity, he would open that exit door and never push me to try again. I know that. I know that he loves me, not because of what I do or say, but he just loves me. And 18 months ago, when we shared our secret big dream to really go for TV, to go big, he promised we could stop at any time if it didn't feel right, and I know he really meant it. Even if he meant now. Only moments before, he whispered his last bit of encouragement to me. The audience out there, Mira, is just like your 7th grade classroom that you used to teach in. Be the teacher, love your students, as you always have. You know this. He is only 40, 50 feet away from me, but I feel like he is oceans away. I know that I'm the only one who can walk through that curtain onto the stage. He can't hold my hand and walk out there with me, but I know that no matter what happens in the next 30 minutes, he will be here to hold my hand when I am done. So the sound guy messes with my necklace one last time. The makeup lady enhances the eyeshadow and reapplies the lip gloss that I have managed to completely eat away in the last 2 minutes. I have never felt so scared and excited in my life. I hear my name, and Nate Berkus is introducing me. He is talking about a woman who inspires and empowers people with their camera. He is preparing viewers to meet their quote-unquote new best friend. The documentary video of my story plays, and I hear my kids laughing in the video, and I feel comfort. The cream-colored curtain standing in front of me begins to shine brighter and brighter as the spotlights look to my place of entrance. All the energy is on the other side of this curtain, only a few feet away, and yet I feel like I'm going to burst with energy before I even get my cue. And then it comes. I walk through the curtain. I find myself on stage, waving at the audience, smiling, waving at viewers, and I feel like I have come home. From sleeping in my car in Seattle parking lots after the date rape, having nowhere to go, to checking myself into a psych ward, all the years of feeling unworthy, believing I didn't have a voice, to piecing my heart together despite the fear and the doubt that surrounded me. Remembering the night I lay on the cold linoleum floor of that hospital, that psych ward, whispering a promise to a God that I couldn't see or feel. If you can piece my shattered heart back together again, I will share my story without shame, so every woman I meet feels a little stronger in the pursuit of living a life that is worthy, rich with wonder, adventure, and hope. The fear, the doubt, the excitement, they all exist in the unknown. So knowing this truth, knowing that your dream building is not measured by how many few fears and doubts you struggle with, how many or little, knowing that an adventure-filled creative life is holding its hand out to you, I want to ask you, what curtain would you pass through? What adventure would you embrace? What impossible would you dream? Thank you so much for letting me be here. It's been an honor.